Welcome back to another edition of Strengthening Oklahoma. This edition of Strengthening Oklahoma is brought to you by the Winston in Norman. The Winston's got great food, better drinks, and the best patio in Norman. Visit thewinston.com to see their menu or order online. All right, we continue to get you ready for the Cheez-It Bowl. Florida State, Oklahoma. Going to take place December the 29th. Sooners traveling to Orlando. Also, all the things going on right now during this crazy time of portaling and guys getting ready for their finals. Welcome to the show, superstar, wide receiver, Mr. Marvin Mims. Marvin, how are you doing today, man? Thanks for joining us.
Yes, sir. I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Well, good, man. Let's kind of start with the bowl game. When you first heard the news about getting a chance to play in the Cheez-It Bowl down there in Orlando against a really good program and a team that's had a great year and a great brand in Florida State, what'd you think?
Yeah, I thought it was a great opportunity for us. I mean, just to go to Orlando is pretty cool. Good bowl location, a nice spot just to hang out for a week with all the guys. And then Florida State, it's basically I don't know where their relations are with Orlando, but basically like a home game, in-state game for them. So it'll be pretty big. Probably be a crazy atmosphere, but it should be fun. A great team. 9-3. I mean, you can't take that for granted.
Yeah, it's certainly an interesting matchup. Now, this is something we got to ask every one of the guys, right? Are you planning on playing in the bowl game against Florida State?
I mean, yeah, right now I plan on playing. Something pops up or, new information is brought to light. I mean, maybe that changes, but, right now I plan on playing. I've been talking throughout, with the draft stuff with the coaches and stuff, and still waiting on my draft grade right now. So, everything right now is still up in the air.
Walk us through that, and for the people maybe watching that don't know, what is that process like? Do you just conversation with the coaches? Do they apply and put your name in, and then they give you back? Is it I've been told that the grading system's different now. It used to be like an actual round, like a parameters of what they think, to where I've been told now it's just kind of, yes, you should come out, or no, you shouldn't go back to school. Do you know exactly, kind of walk us through what that process has been like for you?
Yeah. I want to say it was the week of Thanksgiving. I went in there with our draft liaison, NFL liaison guy, sat in there and basically like talked to him about the year, kind of what scouts were saying a little bit that came in throughout the season. And so basically what happened is that we had to fill out this paper, basically just send my best 3 games out to whoever it is in the NFL that like does all the stuff. But we send out to them, and he said it might take 2-3 weeks to get it back. So that's still, out there. Haven't gotten back yet. But from what I've heard, I think it's a little bit of both. Like they'll tell you where to stay or come back, and they'll tell you like the round projection. So that's from what I heard. I mean, I can't really give you a for sure answer because I haven't gotten the grade back yet. But as far as I know, I mean, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, it's an interesting process and kind of a stressful one. Like you're sitting there going, okay, what's it going to look like now? I'm sure, and you've got, you've got a very good, kind of inner circle of people helping you make decisions, including your parents. Is there like a line, right, where you're like, hey, if it comes back first, second round, I got to go? Or is that still like, have you guys talked about the way that it could look once you get that grade back?
Yeah, I mean, basically for the most part, we just been taking a lot of like what people are saying. Basically from the last question, I've talked to the coaches and all that stuff, and same with scouts have been telling them that come in throughout the season. And then I talked with other people that I'm close with, and some scouts have went to my high school, talked to my high school coach, and basically just taking everything they're saying. I mean, like first or second round, that'd be great. I'd probably leave if that's the projection. But as far as, if this is here, we're going to go. I mean, we haven't really talked much about it. Like I said, we don't know really what to expect at all. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
It'll be a lot of information, and good on you for having good people around you. Smart, man. Take all the information you possibly can and make a good quality decision. We'd be remiss with now day 3 of the transfer portal open. And as these days keep flying by, more and more names go in there. Is that something that you're processing, working through? Is that a possibility? Have you worked through that aspect? Like maybe the draft grade isn't exactly what you want. Is the portal something that you might potentially entertain? Or if you're coming back to school, it's going to be at Oklahoma, or have you gotten that far along the process yet either?
Yeah, I've definitely thought about it. I mean, I don't personally see myself at all going into the portal. Like, if there's a chance, I probably say like a 5% chance of me going to the portal, that's something goes like drastically wrong, or just something's not what I expect or something like that. I mean, that's not something I want to do. But as far as the portal goes, I mean, I think it's a great thing. But ever since COVID happened, ever since I've been in college, basically, I think it's kind of gotten, I don't want to say out of hand, but like there's a lot of names popping in there every season. So it's kind of a crazy thing now, but I think it has good intentions. I just think like the rules and like the regulations and stuff are just kind of wonky right now ever since COVID happened.
So with how the portal is functioning currently, right, with the player like yourself, right, everyone knows who you are, been extremely productive. Do you think some guys like you, and I know you said you're really not interested in jumping in the portal, but do you think some guys like you who have had your type of production just go in to see what they can get? You know what I mean? Like almost like a free agency, right?
Definitely. I mean, like I want to say last year, like after Coach Riley left and all that stuff was happening. I mean, part of me like wanted to go into the portal just to like entertain it, with intentions being to come back to Oklahoma, like just to entertain the portal. I know I have some former teammates that said the same thing, that they're interested in the portal just to see what was out there, and then that they had their intentions on coming back. But I mean, now like the game's like completely different with the rules of the portal and NIL coming up. I think in about the same year, those changes. I mean, it's kind of crazy.
It is crazy. And I kind of like, there's part of me that, I wish it would have been cool to have that opportunity, but at the same time, I'm glad I never did have that opportunity, right? Because like, it's kind of hard not to look at it and say, huh, I wonder what my value potentially is out there on the open market, which are terms that we only ever used as far as NFL free agency. And now those are terms that we use in college football. It's just, that's why I'm not too harsh one way or another with any of these young players, because it is so new. It is so different. And it's easy for anyone to sit back there and say, I would have never done that. But until you're in that spot, it's tough to definitively say how you'd react and how you'd potentially use that portal.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, everything's different now. I mean, you got like guys like me who've played 3 years now and played since freshman year, haven't missed a game, that are like proven. And then you got guys that are 1 year in a program, wasn't what they thought it was, and they're going to leave and go to another college. And like you talk about like the value and how much maybe a school's willing to pay that guy. I mean, for a guy like me, I have 2 years left, including the COVID year. And then a younger guy might have like no snaps or anything, didn't play, but he has all four. So it's just a really complicated thing.
There's, currently amongst the fan base, there's a lot of discussion about what's going to happen with the wide receiver coach position, right? What was it like year one with Coach Washington this season? And does who the wide receiver coach will be, does that factor into any of your decision making with the option that Coach Washington could be back? You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, year one with Coach Washington, I mean, it was great, just to have a guy. I mean, he's a real cool coach, young guy, understanding. I mean, just like a good vibes to have in the meetings and all that stuff. Someone you can really like open up to, talk to, and he'll be like 100% real with you, no matter who you are. I mean, he'll tell you how it is, which is great. And, just to have him in the meetings, I mean, he kind of understands what you do, how you do it, and why you did it, just because of him playing the position and the different levels he's played at and stuff like that. But, not having him, I mean, that'd be my fourth receiver coach in my fourth year, which is, it's really different. First I started off with Coach Simmons and Coach Gundy, and then this year I had Coach Washington. And then, if he leaves and I come back next year, then it'll be somebody else, which is like a kind of different thing. I mean, it's pluses and negatives, just with the relationship. And then, a huge plus would be just to get different input from different eyes, different voices, there's the way people see the game differently. I mean, that's a huge plus. But there's been a lot of change recently. And, if a Coach Washington came back, I mean, that'd be great. Our guys love him in the locker room, in the receiver room. We absolutely love him. But at the end of the day, you got to do what you got to do.
I want to say first, man, congrats. 1,000-yard season. That had to be somewhere along the way and a goal for you. You had 52 catches, by far your most of your career. The productivity was there. I'm sure you look at it and say it could have even been better. Considering you guys didn't even throw in one game against Texas. I mean, there was no passes to be had. As you look back and you reflect, give me an assessment of how you felt your junior season went.
Yeah, I mean, just like you said, there's ups and downs. Starting off hot 3-0. Just out there balling with the offense, and then I think we go straight into 0-3, and then DG gets hurt for what, a game and a half, game and 3/4, and that was kind of rough on us, especially as a receiver room, just mentally, and just it was just a season of up and downs, and just kind of like grind it through. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I had mistakes. Coach Levy will say he had mistakes on certain calls, and then Dylan say he'll have mistakes on certain balls. But at the end of the day, to be 6-6 where we are, I mean, we can easily be would it be 9-3 just from a couple plays in some games, the way games finished out. I mean, this season, I mean, it's just new beginnings for sure, but there's a lot left on the table.
You mentioned Dylan Gabriel. Does his decision, and I think the expectation I know it's certainly my expectation, is that he will be back with Coach Levy next season. Does his decision and him coming back, does that factor into your decision at all? Or do you just have to view it solely as your decision and you can't factor that in?
I mean, it'll probably be like a little factor. I mean, there's a little bit of both in that, solely my decision and him coming back. I mean, just like with the receiver coach, that'd be my fourth quarterback in 4 years, if he doesn't come back. But, at the end of the day, like I said, it is what it is, at the end of the day, man, the offense Coach Levy runs, who's going to bring back there. I mean, I have trust in whoever he picks up, whether that's the portal or someone coming in as a true freshman. But, I feel like that would play in a little bit.
That's crazy, man. You've been with 3 different quarterbacks in 3 years. You've been with, as you mentioned, 3 different receivers coach in 3 years. Just wild to think about all the constant changing parts around you, yet you've been consistent. You've been really good all throughout. I will tell you, I've had a chance to talk with some of the coaches and just sing your praises about how steady you were all throughout the course of the season, bringing it in practice every day. So good on you, man, as it clearly had to be, as you called it, a grind throughout the course of the season. It didn't always go y'all's way. I know at least what I was told, you brought it each and every single day, and that's what great leaders do. That's what great players do. So good on you. I don't know how we've gotten this far in this interview, and we haven't asked you about, had to be the catch of your career, had to be the catch of the season for the Oklahoma Sooners, Lubbock, Texas. Again, let's not talk about the end result, but I want to talk. I'm watching it. I'm sitting there having dinner and watching the game, and I'm like, he pinned it on his back. He pinned it on his back. He caught the ball. Like, no way he caught the ball. And so I thought from the camera angle that you had pinned it. When they went to the other angle, you had actually popped it off the defensive back's back. Then you reestablish possession and you bring it all in with one arm. Walk us through, please, how you were able to keep the concentration and be able to catch that football in Lubbock, Texas.
Yeah, I mean, like that play design, we had a couple plays that kind of went the same way, but if it was man, we expected to be one high, like that was going to be our ball. We talked about it all week. So I run it and I go over there and I run the route and I get like jammed up a little bit because I think we ran it earlier and they had a different DB out there that was covering it, but this time the corner went with me. So the ball's in the air and like I'm kind of off my landmark. So, Coach Washington always talks about like if the ball is in the air, like it's ours, like we got to go get it. And so I couldn't get 2 hands over there. So I at least reached over with one, tried to jump through the guy. They threw the flag, which I don't think I saw in the middle of the play, but I got like a hand on it. And I couldn't bring it in with one. And then I guess I couldn't see it, but like hit his back and like popped off. And then like as I'm falling, I like see it again, and it's just like slowly falling to the ground. I just reach my hand out and grab it.
Was that one of those? And I think a lot of guys that have played football, like, did it happen in slow motion, like the end of that play where you're like, wait, what's happening right now? Like it's a weird sensation.
Yeah, definitely. That one happened in slow motion after it hit his back. I mean, honestly, I didn't think it was that cool of a catch until people started. Like,
Well, you're wrong, Marvin. You're wrong, because it was cool.
Yeah, because I didn't really have a reaction to it.
Tell me, once you went back and watched it, you thought it was a pretty cool catch like that. It's got to be top of your highlight reel, right? Come on, man.
Yeah, I'd say that. I mean, if I would have like stuck my arm out there and like actually grabbed it with the first touch, I mean, that would have been pretty cool. But I mean, I just at first I didn't understand it, but like now I can kind of see it.
He's critiquing that catch. I don't even. I mean, I got to tell you, grabbing it with one arm would have been cool, but the fact that you popped it off his back, you re-established where the football was, and then you caught it. I don't know, man. I thought it was absolutely outstanding. So whether you want to take credit for it or not, we're giving you credit. Catch of the year for the Oklahoma Sooners, Marvin Mims, there in Lubbock, Texas. And you had, once again, just a heck of a game as you went for 162 and 2 touchdowns on the night. So love it, man. I guess just in closing, before we get to a couple fan questions, as far as bowl preparation goes, what do you want to get out of those practices leading up to y'all's game with Florida State?
Just to like tighten everything down, get everything back together. I mean, we had some time off, and now we're back in the workouts and stuff, just like kind of winter workouts, just lifting and running. But basically just like as an older guy, whether I leave or come back, just to leave the young guys off with something, with some good leadership, stuff like that, so they can build on it next year. If I'm coming back next year, then we're just going to hit the thing rolling, right now, and then take a little break and come back in January. But that's pretty much it.
Awesome, man. Well, best of luck with that decision. I'd give you my opinion, but I don't think you want it. I'm probably a little bit biased. Love to see you back in a Sooner uniform, but I will say, if that grade comes back the way you want, you will have a lot of fans rooting you on along the way. All right, speaking of fans, let's get to the fan questions, brought to you by Love's Travel Stops. Visit loves.com for more information on the nation's leading travel stop network that's headquartered right here in the great state of Oklahoma. Ryan L. wants to know, what's your favorite moment of this past season?
Favorite moment of this past season?
Clearly not the awesome catch, because he wasn't very impressed with it.
Yeah, it was no big deal. No big deal.
I'd probably say either Gavin Freeman's reverse first game of the season, or just a 28-point first quarter against Oklahoma State. Just because, like, Gavin, I seen him work hard. He got one shot and he made the most of it. I mean, that can honestly be the play of the year. I think if the stakes are higher in that game, bigger opponent, I mean, that's the game of the year. And then Oklahoma State, we've been struggling a little bit. We go out there and play against them. I mean, stuff they said in interviews going up to the week. I mean, we watched as a team and team meeting, and we just went up there and put up 28 points on them in the first quarter. I feel like that was like huge for us, and there's just a lot of energy in that stadium. So
that first quarter of Bedlam was a lot of fun. I was having a good time down there on the sideline. I was having a really good time. But yeah, those are both awesome. Now, this last one comes from Sam H. I like this question. Do you like the nickname Marvelous Marvin?
Honestly, so, like, yeah, I like it. I definitely like it. I think I like it.
There was a lot of thought there, man. You sure you like it?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's like stuff that like goes with it. So I love it because it was like given to me, just from like my play. And then like sometimes if I'm like joking with friends or something, or just messing around or something, like they'll call me Marvin, I'll be like, oh, they call me Marvelous or something like that, and they'll just like start laughing, like eye roll at me or something like that. But I absolutely love it. I think it's great.
It's fantastic. I mean, my nickname was Dirty D, and that kind of sucks. I would love to have been Marvelous anything. Instead, I was just dirty. So I think in the nickname game, you are winning, to say the least. Man, it's always a pleasure, Marvelous. Thanks for joining us, as always. Best of luck over these next couple of weeks making your decision, and look forward to talking again very soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
As always, big thanks to Marvin for joining us here on the show. And now it's time for me and my man Gabe to break it down. The breakdown brought to you by the Oklahoma Proton Center. It's one of the top cancer centers in the region using state-of-the-art proton therapy. Oklahoma Proton Center, more than a cure, quality of life. Marvelous Marvin Mims, 1,000-yard season, 52 catches. It's interesting because it felt like it could have been easily a 1,300-yard season. I thought at times this year Marvin was great. Thought at times this year he's a little inconsistent. And I think Marvin would even tell you that. I'll be intrigued to see what his grade is. He's an NFL wide receiver. And he's gonna have a great chance at the NFL. My gut tells me he's gonna come back probably middle rounds. I don't know ultimately what his goal is, where he wants to be drafted. Clearly he told us top 2 rounds he's out, but I think he could do himself a lot of good coming back year 2 of the system, year 2 with Dylan Gabriel, who you and I both expect is going to be back in a Sooner uniform running this offense. And I just think if he can be a more consistent player week in, week out, I think he could make himself some money. And maybe there's some opportunities. There should be some opportunities in the NIL world for him too. The reality is this offense, it would be huge if he comes back. It would be huge if he comes back. And it would be not a devastating blow, but it would be a significant blow if ultimately he does decide to leave. And lastly, I thought it was great, and it should be a really good feeling for Oklahoma that doesn't sound like the portal's anything he's really going to entertain. So really you're just kind of battling, what does that NFL grade look like? And does Marvin, his family, think that it's time for him to move on from college and test the NFL waters?
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of factors for the decision that he's having to make, but it's a good decision to have to make, right? Hey, should I leave early or should I come back? As far as the production on the field, I'm with you. I think if everything would have come together this year, he could have had a 1,400, 1,500 yard type season. Now it didn't play out that way, but I think he's more than capable of that type of production. Having a player of his caliber back next season, it'd be massive. I mean, it'd be a huge boost, not only for the offense, but the entire football team. But I think as impactful as he would be, like with his play on the field, his leadership is something that would be, extremely valuable to this football team next season.
Yep.
You think about what that wide receiver room is looking like right now. A bunch of young players in that room. Jaden Gibson, Nick Anderson, like those guys have to grow up in a hurry. And with Marvin's leadership like that, I think that would be very, very valuable to those guys' development. Even Farouk, right? Farouk he's not an old guy. And I know Marvin's he's a true junior, but
played a lot of football.
And I think he's got the respect of every single guy in that locker room. So yeah, there's a football, like on the field component to it, but I also think there's a big leadership and, the example he sets and how he goes about his business that is extremely valuable as well.
It's a really good point. It would be huge. He's been described to me just by people on the staff throughout the year, just a pro, like every day, brings it at practice every single day. And again, the play on the field was a little inconsistent. He had a couple of drops there a few times throughout the course of the season, which is uncharacteristic of him. But as far as the preparation, the leadership, even though he's not the most vocal guy, setting the example, it's there day in, day out. And that will only continue to be an important thing moving into next year as well. So those young guys you referenced need to step up. Jalil Farouk is excellent with the ball in his hands. He's got to turn into a more consistent and quality route runner, as well as someone who can really pluck the ball and catch it with his hands. Like, he is so good around the line of scrimmage, inside of 2 yards of line of scrimmage, getting the ball real quick right now. Man, he's tough to tackle, almost like a running back with the ball. I think that there is a whole nother level he can get to if he can continue to develop as a wide receiver. That'll be a huge point of emphasis for him. And I would say whether it's Coach Washington or whoever the receivers coach is here in through spring, into summer, into fall camp of next season, because if he can develop in those areas consistently, running crisp, clean routes and having, more better hands, because I hate seeing receivers allow the ball to get to their body. I feel like he did that a little bit too much. Instead of plucking it, really having strong hands. He can get to that place with what he does with the ball in his hands after the catch. He could really take his game and this offense to another level.
I agree. And I also think that the offense as a whole, there needs to be some more. They need to have some more concepts that attack the intermediate area of the field, right? Yeah. It can't just be shots down the field and then passes at or behind the line of scrimmage, right? Yep. You have to use the entire football field to stress defenses. And Jeff Lebby, he knows that, right? Yep. Like I'm not saying anything that Lebby doesn't already know. And I do think Farouk in particular could be very dangerous in those areas. Getting the ball in his hands and then letting him go do his thing after the catch. So I think that's an area of the offense that'll grow. I really do.
Intermediate passing game needs to grow. I think that's a really good point by you. And we'll see. The clock is ticking. We'll find out what the NFL draft portion, what it yields for Marvin Mims, and ultimately if he decides to be back. If I was reading into that a little bit, I'm just going to infer, because he didn't come out and say it, but if he's coming back, he's all in on the bowl game. If that draft grade comes back, which he's expecting it here, I would have guessed any time. He said it was late November. And did he put in? They told him 2 to 3 weeks. So I'm guessing that draft grade should be in the next week or so. If it comes back and he decides to go to the NFL, I'm guessing he's not going to be there for the game against Florida State. So we will all wait with anticipation to see exactly what those results are and ultimately what Marvin decides to do. Either way, I'm a big fan, and I'm going to wish him the absolute best of luck. But I'll tell you what, he sure would look good one more year in that crimson and cream on the field. Big thanks to Muse Growth Strategies for continuing to help us spread the word about strengthening Oklahoma. Reminder to subscribe to the podcast on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. You can check out our website, strengtheningok.com, where you can continue to contribute to our fantastic players you get a chance to listen to each and every week right on here. And whether you've been a subscriber and you've been a listener from the beginning or you're just starting up, we appreciate you. We thank you. And we'll see you again next time right here on Strengthening Oklahoma.